What if your heart health depended on something that's not in your medicine cabinet? Today on The Natural Upgrade, Colonel Fair shares her insights as a board-certified medical professional on how a little-known supplement won a Nobel Prize. Combined with everyday habits, it can boost energy and circulation naturally. Join us as we explore how nitric oxide supports heart health, boosts energy, and more. Our podcast is sponsored by Nature's Pure Blend because we believe natural solutions are the ultimate upgrade. All right, welcome to this week's podcast. This is the Natural Upgrade. My name is Steve Moreland, and today we have an exceptional guest and actually a close friend of mine as well. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Colonel Fair here in just a second. First of all, we just got to introduce what we're actually going to be talking about today. It's about a little-known single molecule that your body could use to dramatically improve your performance, help you recover faster, and support a healthy heart. So I'm going to introduce my friend now here for just a second. Our expert today isn't just another medical professional. Dr. Tasheema Fair is a colonel in the United States Army Reserve with over 20 years of experience in health and wellness. Her leadership and expertise in the field of corporate wellness has helped thousands of individuals to improve their health and their productivity. But now she's bringing her knowledge and grit directly to you with insights that can transform how you approach your cardiovascular health and your energy management. Now, from improving circulation to supporting your cardiovascular system using nitric oxide, Dr. Fair will give you a roadmap to unlock a stronger heart and body and do it naturally. What I'm going to do is introduce you, Doc, and give me a little bit here. First of all, where I like to start is your why. Tell me about your passion for medicine and how did you become who you are today?
Okay. Thank you so much for that edification. I appreciate that. My name is Dr. Tasheema Fair. So I have always wanted to be a physician since I was, we're going to go with 2 because my mom says I was 2, although, but mom says I was 2, so we'll just go with what mom says. And I've never, going through grade school, high school, never lost that passion for being a physician. And so entered medical school, that same like zeal, because I just wanted to help people. I wanted to take care of people from a health standpoint, a medical standpoint. And within medical school, and my father encouraged me to join the Army. It's called to help me with medical school. And it was one of the best decisions I made. Joined while I was in medical school and then did my residency and then went on to active duty. And after about 5.5 years of active duty, I went back to the reserves. I went into private practice, and now I travel for the doctor portion, but I'm still in the Army. Sure. And actually gone up to the rank of the colonel. I'm excited to be here. Really, my why is really just helping people to be happy and whole and healthy.
Yes, absolutely. So started at 2. So were you running around the house with a stethoscope kind of hanging around your neck? Is that how mom knew?
No, I think she bought me one.
Oh, there you go. Okay. Okay. So a little bit of, there you go. A little bit of good nudge from mom always is a good thing. Outstanding. So I also want to say thank you for your service. Absolutely.
Thank you for your support. Appreciate it. I always say an ounce of prevention is a pound of cure. I still saw a lot of heart disease, a lot of diabetes, a lot of hypertension.
Sure.
Oh, like how can I help facilitate to prevent this?
Sure.
And take care of one-to-many. This is the one-to-one that seeing somebody in my office versus taking care of one-to-many and helping many more people's lives be better.
Absolutely. That's a perfect idea. So when you're going in this environment and being able to speak and develop and deliver, I guess that's a better word, your expertise, your that ounce of prevention instead of a pound of cure. Let's jump in here and let's start talking about everything we've heard about blood pressure. There's 3 myths that kind of surround this in general. And I think these myths, the veil's kind of being lifted a little more now that there's more access and more knowledge. There's a lot more, what I would say, academic research that's coming around, and that now is being disseminated through the internet and other types of healthy channels, whether it's on TV or even through YouTube or the internet. So a lot of people, I think, are moving up their knowledge a little bit. But let's talk about these, what I would call the 3 major myths. One of them is high cholesterol is the primary cause of heart disease. The second one, blood pressure is solely controlled by salt intake. And then number 3, medications are the best way to manage heart health. So I'm going to let you work through these. Tell me why these are now myths.
Now, traditionally, high cholesterol was labeled as the main cause of heart disease, leading to this widespread prescribing statins. Cholesterol plays a role, however, really the primary cause is inflammation of the blood vessels, particularly the lining of the blood vessels, which is called the endothelium.
Thank you. You said that first, so I don't have to say that.
And so when the lining is damaged by, and there's several factors that can cause damage to the lining of the blood vessel, then you get what's called vasoconstriction, or the blood vessels tighten or they constrict, which leads to high blood pressure and can lead to like high cholesterol, because when they take your blood, it's the cholesterol that's in the blood, not necessarily the cholesterol that's in the tissues. It's what's blood that they see. So what's in the blood can cause an inflammatory response, but there are other factors. That's the reason why you may have high cholesterol, because it's not moving from your blood to your tissues to do all those wonderful biochemical reactions that the body does.
Sure. Okay. Okay. So that kind of gives us a first kind of explanation with regards to the cholesterol. What about the second one there about the salt intake? Because I remember growing up around my grandfather, and he had hypertension, high blood pressure. And you got to help me, is there a difference between hypertension and high blood pressure? Or are they one and the same?
The same thing.
The same. Okay, just want to make sure. Okay, so I remember being a kid sitting at the table with Grandpa and knowing that he had that, and he was probably taking something back then, whatever his morning ritual. I knew he had a prescription bottle that I always knew Grandpa had to take his heart medicine. But I remember him sitting at the table, and one of his favorite things being that he was in the Navy in World War I, and he loved salt. And I remember my grandmother would be up there behind us, and let's say we were going to have, this was one of his favorite meals, was lima beans with mayonnaise. Okay. Now, I was good with the lima beans. I was not good at eating the mayonnaise. Okay. Wherever Grandpa learned that. Okay. But he would turn around. I remember him looking to see if my grandmother was watching him, and he grabbed the salt shaker. And next thing, he was putting the salt on the mayonnaise and the lima beans. And then she would always catch him. You put that salt out. Great. So tell us about the salt intake. What is the myth there?
So it's really, high blood pressure is not solely controlled by salt intake. Like, it can help. However, it's really the nitric oxide production that leads to healthy blood vessels.
Okay.
So the nitric oxide relaxes the blood vessels, or what we call vasodilation. And it's solely, if you rely on reducing your salt intake, you're not focusing on the big picture.
Okay. So it's a symptom that someone might have a bad habit of oversalting their food. But if they are, it's not that they shouldn't focus on the reduction of sodium, but the better one you're saying is, as we're going to talk about more, the preventative of how do we get more creation or production of the nitric oxide in the body.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about the third myth here, pharmaceuticals. So now everybody seems to be asking more questions. And one of the big questions, is there a side effect if I take a pharmaceutical? And I know I've seen friends of mine that have a prescription and then they have a second prescription for the side effect of the first prescription. And the second prescription causes another side effect. So they got a third prescription. So they end up with a little battery of kind of a cascading effect. So tell me about this.
Okay, so polypharmacy is a big thing, especially in our older population, our elderly population. Pharmaceuticals treat symptoms and doctors. That's what we do. We focus on the symptoms you're having versus actually treating the real cause of why you're having it. Although pharmaceuticals can help, the things that we need to focus on is like the nitric oxide production, particularly in heart disease. And so we get that from exercise, we get that from eating a healthier diet, and then supplements, which can help manage the heart disease, the high blood pressure. Pharmaceuticals have their role.
Sure.
However, it's best to lead a more preventative lifestyle.
Okay. So let's talk about this nitric oxide. And it seems to be not talked about as readily as we would hope that our mainstream cardiologists would. What I'm hearing from you as a medical certified professional is it sounds like the way that the medical industry is trained is that they focus on symptomology. What is the thing that's, causing the problem right now? Obviously, they, put the cuff on your arm, high blood pressure. Let's see, this is a symptom. And what you're saying is there should be a dig down deeper into finding what is root of the problem. And at the root of this problem, what's the cause? You use that term, cause.
It's the cause.
So why do you think, as you're a peer within the medical community, why do you think this nitric oxide is not really spoken about that much?
Particularly pharmaceutical industry is $1 billion industry. And so when we talk about supplements that can actually support the body, then we dig into the pockets of the pharmaceutical industry.
Okay.
So it's not, even though nitric oxide was awarded this Nobel Prize in the 90s, it remains largely unappreciated by mainstream cardiologists. And it's not that, I would say it's always and I hate to throw the pharmaceutical industry under the bus, however, our system, the way our system is in the medical community, we prioritize pharmaceuticals over supplements.
Sure.
And it's been that way for quite some time. The culture, as I see the culture maybe shifting a little bit, however, it's just going to take some time for the culture to shift. The natural supplements have been around for quite some time, particularly nitric oxide. Right. It's your vasodilator, meaning it relaxes the blood vessel. And so it does play that critical role in that, and it improves your circulation.
Sure.
Thus, like reducing your blood pressure.
Sure.
Yeah, it's not readily available. Like your doctor's not, you can't get a prescription for nitric oxide.
Right.
Get a prescription for
the 3 doctors that won the Nobel back in, like you said, in the 90s. And I think not only with the relaxing they actually found another product that became super popular that was originally designed to manage or control or whatever. And they found out it had an alternative benefit for guys. And they changed the name of the drug, I think, and it became the little blue, didn't it?
Yep.
So tell me what you know about that.
In 1998, Dr. Robert Furchtgott, Dr. Louis Ignara, and Dr. Murray, they were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physiology and Medicine for their like this groundbreaking discovery of nitric oxide, and signaling molecule in the cardiovascular systems. Dr. Furchgott discovered that the blood vessels produce a substance that signals them to relax. And initially called this substance EDRF, or endothelium derived relaxing factor. And it was later called nitric oxide. Now, Dr. McNeuro, he further demonstrated that nitric oxide was indeed a signaling molecule responsible for the relaxation of blood vessels, confirming its key role in cardiovascular health. And then Dr. Murad showed how nitroglycerin and related work in releasing nitric oxide and explaining their ability to relieve chest pain by improving blood flow to the heart. Thus, we get our little blue pill because you get relaxation of all your blood vessels, not just the ones that affect the heart. So this discovery revolutionized the understanding of how blood vessels regulate blood pressure and circulation, and highlighting nitric oxide and its critical role in cardiovascular health, hypertension, high blood pressure, and even erectile function. And they open up this new avenue for treating heart disease and strokes and cardiovascular conditions through the modulation of nitric oxide levels.
Yeah, I'm sure not only has it revolutionized the heart industry, but who would have known that there would be so many guys so happy for the GP? And I would say that probably some ladies are happy about it as well, because it probably, it was a win. Let's call it that.
It was a win.
Absolutely. It's always a good thing to have those. So if we go into how it actually works, I know, or you're teaching me this word, and vasodilation. I like that. Okay. I said it, vasodilation. You said tomatoes. I'd rather have the medical correct vasodilation. I don't know where else I'm going to get to throw that word out except right here on the call with you. Let's talk about how this works in the body. And you've already explained how it triggers the relaxation and the dilation. You've mentioned that. And that means the blood pressure decreases. Therefore, if there is a beginning issue of hypertension, it's going to help support that and help manage that. So a question I guess I would ask that might be, I guess, on point here, since I'm triggering in my mind, my grandfather had hypertension. I know because he was my mother's father. And then my mother had hypertension. What role does genetics of passing that through generations? Is that really something? Because it seems like I hear a lot of physicians ask that question about family history. How much of that is true, and how much of it is just the way we just ask questions?
Genetics plays a role, but high blood pressure, heart disease is multifactorial. So it has its place, but there are many factors that can cause somebody to have high blood pressure or heart disease or anything like that. So it's not just genetics. And you can, even if you are genetically susceptible to high pressure, because mom had it, dad had it, again, your lifestyle, you can prevent it with your lifestyle.
We're talking about conscious change. When we talk about diet, let's do that here for a second, because that is what I would consider of the two things that we can do. We can take offensively, start maybe more exercise, call it cardiovascular exercise. We're trying to move our heart rate up and make ourselves breathe a little harder. And then in that area, we can come back here in a second, talk about the different kinds of that, aerobic being a steadier level of increased pace. Walking, one of the best things that anyone can do. It's the easiest thing. You need a gym membership, and technically you don't even need a pair of tennis shoes. You can just put on whatever shoes you have, as long as they don't have heels on them, and start, right? And if we look back at, I'm going to go back to my grandparents again. Think about what their lifestyles were multi-generations ago, back 2, 3, and even my great-grandparents. they moved more. They just moved around more than we have now created this very sedentary life. How big is that? And we'll come back and talk about diet. But to me, that taking an offensive position of what can I do to make a difference, and we look back at the lower levels of heart disease, cardiovascular type problems, and it's almost at epidemic levels today. Is it because of that lower movement, or again, is it multifactorial, I guess?
It is multifactorial, but that plays a big role. Like moving your body plays a big role. And when you get high blood pressure or cardiac disease or not. So it's very important that we get regular physical activity and physical exercise in on a daily basis. And I always say, even though the American Heart Association recognizes that regular physical activity prevents heart disease, they give us some guidelines on that, 150 minutes per week. Something as simple as walking.
Yes.
So 30 minutes or more a day can help you prevent cardiovascular disease. And even like getting up and say you walk after dinner, you walk 30 minutes. And not only does it reduce your blood sugar, but you cause this nitric oxide production in your blood vessels, and that relaxes your blood vessels, especially if you walk a little bit more briskly than normal. Most people walk a little less briskly. They walk a little slower, but when you step it up just a little bit, get into that, what we call aerobic exercise, then you could cause the relaxation of blood vessels through the nitric oxide production.
Got it. The first thing that we should think about before we go talk about diet here is with regards to exercise. That means I don't have to go get a trainer and go to the club, which is a lot of the obstacles people come up with. And if you've ever been in a gym, like I have been, because I've just been an athlete my whole life. And I know when I was in Dallas, there was a club there called the Q up in Plano where I lived. And I remember the 1st of January, there must have been 20, maybe 30, what were those things? Treadmills, right? Yeah. And then there was all kind of cardio machines, but it had a treadmill section on the second floor. And I remember for the first week, I would come up there and go, I couldn't even get on one. And you'd have to go to and put your name in a line so that you became available for the next one.
Yeah.
But it's always interesting. By the 3rd week of January, they were all empty again. And I got a choice, whichever one I wanted.
Yeah.
Oh, what you're talking about here is you don't need to go do that because people make a New Year's resolution. I'm going to lose some weight because we know weight's connected to lack of physical activity in addition to the diet we'll talk about. If you're not moving and you're saying you just need to walk out the front door, walk, or after you had dinner, take your significant other or not, depending on what you feel like, and just doing 20 or 30 minutes and just walking is going to make a difference just by the movement. It's causing your body to pump more. And you're saying if we do that and we create a habit, that becomes a regular thing after dinner. Just go take that 20 or 30 minute walk. Then down the road, after this becomes a set habit in our life, that's important, is we have to have consistency and a routine. Then you could start saying, okay, we're going to go to I'm going to use, because my dad was Marine Corps. He would always move it on the double time. Okay. Step it up. Yeah. Step it up. So we're saying here is moving to that aerobic level. Tell me if I'm correct. So aerobic is when you can have a conversation while you're walking. Okay. As long as you can talk to another person in the middle of the breath, then you're still in the aerobic range. And that's based on your heart rate. That's what you're measuring to call it aerobic, is heart rate.
It's heart rate.
Okay. And so when you move beyond aerobic to this other level that's called anaerobic, I was taught that the way you know the difference is I can't talk to you while I'm doing the exercise. So I'm so out of breath that I don't have the extra to have the conversation. Is that a good rule of thumb? Okay. And so to be at anaerobic, you have to be at what, 80%, maybe 85% plus of your max heart rate? Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if someone is calling it a HIIT exercise program, high intensity interval training, I think is what that acronym stands for. Am I right?
Okay.
So that would be like joining a CrossFit club where people are climbing up the sides of the walls and going up ropes and all these other very incredible athletic, and people are going, not for me. It's not my jam. I'm not going there. I'm going to fall off that rope even if I tried to get halfway up it. I ain't going. I don't want to do HIIT. I don't want to be so out of breath I can't talk. And obviously, if you get to the anaerobic level, there's an increased level of the body producing more nitric oxide. But what you're saying as a board certified medical professional is you don't have to go up here. You have to keep moving.
And if you don't have to be up there, but you have to start moving.
Moving. All right. Moving. And then when you get used to moving, then maybe move a little bit faster, but still have the conversation. That's still okay.
I mean, an example of that would be in your walking. I had when I was in medical school and I used to run, my trainer would say, jog the straights and sprint the curves. So what that means, I was on a track. So I was just leisurely jog the straight path. And I got to the curves, I would run really fast and sprint. So you can use that in your walking is if you're walking leisurely for, let's say, 5 minutes, the next minute or so, just take it up a little notch.
Got it. I like
go leisurely walking, and then you can do 5 and 1, 5 and 1, 5 and 1. And just your phone, you have a timer on your phone, you can use that. Use the 5 and 1 where you're walking leisurely, and then for 1 minute. Walk a little.
Push it faster. What I always try to do is remove the need for anything, even though we almost always have our phone connected to us. But if someone's sitting there trying to figure out how to turn their timer on, it's sometimes another obstacle. And they're like, oh, I hate doing this. And so you can just visually go, okay, I'm hitting this mailbox, so I'm going to step it up for the next 1 mailbox, maybe 2 mailboxes, and bring it back down. But so is there a value to pushing your heart rate like this as opposed to just trying to keep it up? Is the cycle better?
Get that nitric oxide production when you're in more of that anaerobic place, when you get into that. More of that, because you don't have to be, when you step it up a little bit, you get closer to anaerobic, and then you can bring it back down.
Yeah.
There's always benefits to bringing it up and then bringing your heart rate back down. That's what HIIT is, because you can do something really fast for 30 seconds and then bring your heart rate back down because you're resting for 30 seconds. A minute, and then you're resting for 30 seconds, and then you go back into it for a minute.
Got it. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. So that's what I'm calling the offensive choice, that we've got to force ourselves off the couch after dinner and skip whatever we were going to binge on TV because it's still going to be there on Netflix when we come back. Okay.
Yeah.
It's not going to go anywhere. There's no such thing. When I grew up and we had the old square box TV and 3 channels on whatever, UHF or VHF, if you weren't there when it played, you weren't going to get it because there was no recording. And I guess I'm dating the gray hair here is fading me now. I actually lived before there was a VHS. I remember the first one. I'm like, oh. So let's talk about what I would call maybe more of the defensive choice, that we're not actually have to do something addition. We just have to take something maybe like diet, that we can either take something out of our diet that we're normally used to putting in our mouth. And I'll ask you a question first before we start talking about types of stuff like the nitrates that naturally cause the nitric oxide in the body. But I learned this somewhere, and I don't remember where, but someone told me that how you look physically, body, and how you feel, so both together, look and feel, that 60% had to do with what you were putting in here. Is that true? Is that a medical, scientific?
I got to look at the studies, but I'd say you're right on the money with that.
Okay. So that's something that coming as a medical professional, that's a statistic that you're comfortable with saying more than half of how we look and feel has to do with how we are fueling ourselves. Right? So, so we are putting a lot of things in our body that are just garbage in, garbage out kind of thing. So before we talk about making better choices of our food products, like getting that salad, throwing a little arugula, a little spinach on there, I just go with a straight spinach salad and it works for me. Iceberg lettuce, totally worthless, has no value, I understand it. Exactly.
Again, you wonder, maybe,
we always need a little more hydration. In fact, let me come back to that in a second, if you'll remind me, because I want to talk about hydration, because I know that's all part of our whole body, because it's something else we're putting in our mouth or not putting enough in our mouth. Would you tell me a couple of different food products that you would just say, which you advise your individual one-on-one patients and which you advise your corporate wellness, that you say, stop the madness, stop doing this kind of food? What are those, or what's the number one?
Processed foods.
Processed foods. Okay. So anything that's in a wrapper.
Anything that's in a wrapper.
Okay. Processed foods. So that means that most of us, because we have this hurried up lifestyle, and I was notorious for doing this and thought I was doing right for many years. I was eating 3 protein bars a day. Of course, I was working out a ton. I was also doing martial arts back then, but I was doing 3 protein shakes, 3 protein bars, and a normal meal every day. And I was eating so much processed food, even though it was supposed to be protein, whey isolate, and all these kind of cool stuff. It worked for a while until it didn't work, and it reversed and went badly. And I gained a bunch of weight. Why?
Because you weren't eating whole foods.
Okay.
Protein shakes and protein bars have their place. There's
supplements, right?
Supplements. So they're like a nice additive. If I don't have the I'm not just eating protein right now, then you have the shake. But because you weren't eating whole foods, that's the reason you gain weight. And whole foods that are nutrient dense. So when we talk about nutrient dense foods, is when you have your premium cuts of protein and your vegetables that are nutrient dense, and your complex carbohydrates and your healthier fats. Those are foods that are nutrient dense.
Right. So I know one of the things we're going to get to here in a second, but maybe we can just go ahead and talk about it now. Slowing the pace down. We're talking about moving more, and we're talking about choices of what we're putting to fuel ourselves, and stopping the processed food, more natural, nutrient-rich choices. But to do that, I don't think I'm different than anybody else that's watching this podcast. I always feel like there's just not enough hours in the day, and I'm either late for a meeting and I'm commuting somewhere, or yesterday, I think I ate lunch at 4:00 in the afternoon because my boss needed some stuff and we run into some obstacles. I kept working. So I didn't take the time to make the salad that I know better I should eat. They were in the fridge. They weren't down at the supermarket where I had to go to. They were in my fridge.
Well, okay.
Opted for something that I could gobble down in 3.5 minutes. And one of the other things I try to do at lunch, I actually put it on my calendar, on my Google Calendar, is to take minutes to be mindful and do a breathing exercise. And guess what? I threw out because I didn't have time to manage my stress, did I? So tell me about this thing that people have heard about. Stress causes a hormone, I think it is, called cortisol. Am I correct?
To increase, yes.
Okay. What is cortisol? Yeah, tell me about that.
Cortisol is actually a needed hormone because there's 2 different types of stress. There's eustress, which is the stress that you get when you work out and you get a great result, or the stress that you get from maybe work when there's a project due and you're doing it. And then once it's done, you're like, oh, I done that. And now I'm like a partner in the company, that kind of stress. That's a good kind of stress.
True.
Then there's distress, which is the stress that can silently kill you. So when you stress, your cortisol goes up. Cortisol is secreted from your adrenals, which are the organs that are underneath the kidneys.
Okay.
They signals the cortisol to increase, but what cortisol can do in a state of chronic stress is it can cause your blood vessels to constrict or tight. And so that leads to high blood pressure. That leads to damage to the blood vessels if it's not long-term stress. So that's why why we have to be mindful, like you just said, of reducing our stress level and mitigating our stress levels. Because there are times where we're just going to be stressed, but there are things that we can do to mitigate the stress levels.
I think the term you used there was chronic.
Chronic.
So we can go through periods just like when we are doing that walk and we increase our heart rate and then we peak it but we let it come back down. And chronic is if we were just staying at that level and you've got the engine of our bodies wide open all the time. Yeah. And you can feel it because when I noticed this, just doing some yoga and some breath work, I became aware that when I was stressed, I did what was called high chest breathing, almost pant from up here at the top of the chest. And when I learned to calm myself down and to do breathing, it was always called a belly breath. So how do you advise like your corporate wellness clients? What processes do you help them with?
Breath work is one of the best things that you can do for high stress environment. To actually be mindful of your breathing. Yoga is one of those things that you can, or any kind of relaxation exercise that you can. Journaling is very good. Or reading a book that has nothing to do with your field, but just enjoying a great book. Another way to de-stress. Also, massage is a great way to do that too. But those things do help with, especially when you're in a stressful environment all the time.
Okay. So how much is this device that we all walk around connected to us? How much stress does that device cause us?
Oh my God, boatloads of stress. Because especially as an executive, you check your emails, any kind of ding on your phone. Where is this thing at? Where's this project at? So the device, like on our hips all the time or in our purses all the time, it's very stressful. And it's always, I tell clients like, hey, you got to turn that off an hour before you go to bed.
Oh, nice. Okay. So you actually have a good routine that you say off. And so if you're turning it off an hour before you go to bed, that means you're not sitting there in bed, scrolling, doing this stuff. Okay. You got to let yourself come down.
You got to let yourself come down. 30 minutes to an hour, grab a book instead or a magazine or whatever and read leisurely.
Okay.
Your Bible or whatever. And do some reading before you go to bed.
Got it. And I'm sure that's going to lead into another area because I still want to come back and talk about some of the right choices we can make in foods away from the packaged ones that you say are absolutely so horrible for us. A lot of people are having more and more problems, me included, not falling asleep. That's just me versus my wife, where she has so many problems going to sleep. I'm on the other end. I can go to sleep, but then I tend to wake up. And if I wake up, then I'm up, I'm awake. And in general, how much does sleep in itself not getting good sleep because we're either overstressed or maybe we ate too late at night or we have fed ourselves the wrong kinds of things during the day. How does not getting enough sleep have a effect on our cardiovascular health?
A negative effect, cardiovascular health. Not getting enough sleep. Because your body, you're not wired to be up all day, every day. You have to have a period of rest, even as an athlete, because it's important to rest your muscles, rest your mind. That's the reason why people can't sleep, because their mind's not resting. And so it's key to your cardiovascular health to make sure you're getting enough sleep. And people, I usually use my age group as an example. It's from 35 to 60. You need about 7 to 9 hours of sleep per day.
Okay.
To only for like cardiovascular health, but just for your overall health.
Sure. I've noticed, because I take Nature's Pure Blend. I take the Nitric Oxide Flow. And I noticed when I started taking it, after doing my own research, I don't have high blood pressure, hypertension, anything like that. I noticed not only a increase in energy, I felt a quicker recovery as I'm getting older now from my workouts. But I made the mistake one time, and it only happened one time, is I took it after dinner and then I couldn't sleep. And so is that common in people because of what nitric oxide, a supplement, does, that it could interfere with sleep? So I only take it now in the morning when I get up and have my first glass of water.
It's different for different people. I can fall asleep fast and tend to stay asleep. But if you're one of those ones that gets up and goes to the bathroom and get back to sleep, I'd say take it during the day versus taking it in the evening. Taking it in the evening because it relaxes your blood vessels. When you have blood vessels in your kidneys, it's all
okay.
So you might be out going to the bathroom.
Okay. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so if you did take it in the evening, then it could have you up more often because of the relaxation. At the same time, though, it sounds like you might also get a better sleep quality because your blood vessels are relaxed, and some of that damage that's happening from too much cortisol being pumped out from the adrenals, it actually helps manage and balance it down. Like, so we're all looking for that balance, not too low, but not too high. We're looking for that nice, right? So would you say that if someone is taking nitric oxide or deciding to take nitric oxide, that they should just try and see how it affects their sleep? And if it negatively affects it, like they did it with me, then you'd want to just take it in the morning.
I would say, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we're different. I would say different strokes for different folks. So some people can take it at night. Some people need to take it during the day.
Okay.
But try it. If you prefer to take it at night, try it and see if it affects your sleep at all. If it doesn't, continue to take it. But if it does, then you might want to take it during the day.
Got it. Okay. So let's go back and talk about the other part of the food now. Since we know how valuable the sleep is and how getting that exercise, especially after dinner, maybe even a walk, it's going to help your sleep. Turn off the phone. That's the distraction, making the mind overwork, helps you come down. Yeah, you're prescribing, read a book that's not about what you do. So it's gives you some, what I call mind candy, right? Something's fun, maybe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a novel, something like that. Journaling, I've heard, and I use on a regular basis. I know that, was it Alexander Graham Bell? Was the other Edison had a habit every night before bed. And he didn't write it down, but he had a mental thing that he did. And he would take account of what he had done that day. And then he would think about, what do I need to do tomorrow? So what is the one big thing, not everything. So he would give himself a check off. Okay, I got that done. And so now your mind, when I've tried that routine, it's not running and grappling for what did I do, what I not do, but accounting, it wipes the slate. clean. And then what is the one thing I want to do tomorrow? We're jumping back to diet. Let's talk about some of the things we could add. Like you said, nutrient dense food products, food itself. You talked about a better cut of meat. So is grass fed better than non-grass fed, or is it just a marketing technique?
Grass fed is always,
Wow. Really? Okay.
grass fed is always better than grain.
Okay.
And I know like costs and everything, but for your body, for you, I'd say we only get one of you. So let's
I like
put
that.
the good stuff in.
Look for good thick, man. Okay. Put the good stuff in.
In. So grass, the wild caught fish is better than farm raised. And then I look at the packages. Is this wild caught or this?
Right.
Let's go get the wild caught because that's better than the farm raised. And if you eat beef and pork, grass fed is always
Go there. Yeah. Same thing with eggs. I know I go with, what is it, like free range eggs, and they're supposed to have, I think, just better nutrients, maybe a little more protein in there. So I learned from a guy named Joe DeSena that runs Spartan Race. And one of the primary things he tries to get everyone to do is a salad before every meal. He said, if you can't do anything else, move around a little more. But if you do one thing, it'll make a major difference. So what I do is I take powdered greens and I take a scoop of that and I put that, either dry gulp it, where I just throw it in my mouth and chase it with some water. You should be like, it's terrible. Okay. So they'll mix it in their smoothie or something like that. And then it's easier. But those types of green products that have phytonutrients in them, how do those affect cardiovascular?
Anything that has better than nitrite dense food and that's in those green, that nitrite gets converted to nitric in the body. So anything that has that in it is going to get converted to nitric oxide. And so the nitric oxide is going to affect the blood vessels to dilate. And so you're in a more relaxed state. Leafy greens like spinach, stuff like beets as well.
Arugula, all that kind of stuff.
All those leafy green type vegetables, greens, that kind of thing. Cruciferous veggies, so Brussels sprouts as well. They have the nitrites in them, or nitrates in them, with the A, not an I.
That's cool.
And so I eat spinach with my eggs.
Oh, that's the way to do it. Okay, so there you just helped me with a mental block. I was sitting there thinking the normal spinach with the salad dressing on top of it before I eat breakfast, because I usually eat either scrambled or I eat boiled eggs because I need the protein in the morning. And so you just helped me understand, okay, if I'm going to have an omelet or scrambled eggs, the same thing as just mixing up some chopped spinach in there. There's my salad.
Yeah. There's just
okay. So thank you, Doc. You just helped. I did think about that until you said it just now, and you're like, okay, you helped me. Okay. So
put some spinach in your eggs or whatever.
Love it.
Now I'm not the beet juice is good too, especially if you're like, not a big fan of beets, but like the beet juice, this powder or it's liquid, helps with cardiovascular health because of the nitrate.
So before I get to the last thing that we promised everybody we'd talk about at the very beginning when we started this, I do want to cover, I think it's really important. Here at Nature's Pure Blend, we have a customer support department, and we've had individuals call in and they were already diagnosed with some type of heart condition. And as I mentioned earlier, everybody's now worried about side effects, and I'm taking a pharmaceutical, and maybe I now have to take a second pharmaceutical because of the side effects of the first one we already talked about.
Yeah.
But what we've noticed sometimes, and we automatically give the correct advice, not that we're medical professionals, but we find out some individuals tell us, I decided to start taking your nitric oxide product, or I'm taking your Liquid Beets. And I was under the care of a physician, and they had me on some type of pharmaceutical, and I just stopped it. I just stopped taking it and wanted to do something natural. Please tell everyone watching this, don't do that.
Please do not. Even though the nitric oxide supplements can support healthy blood flow,
Sure.
manage your blood pressure, help
Sure.
manage that, please do not stop taking your blood pressure medicine or your heart medicine, because you're not professionals and you haven't done the studies and gone to school. And so you can't just wean yourself off of, especially blood pressure medicine, because some of those medicines can cause your blood pressure to rebound. You can be okay on the medicine, and once you stop taking it, you go right back.
Sure.
Sometimes even up into what we call stroke range.
Oh, yeah, sure. Right. So the advisable part is not just don't go cold turkey.
No.
But, right. Shouldn't we recommend that if someone's watching this, that even if they decide they want to start taking this, if you have a existing medical condition that you're working with a medical professional on, shouldn't they go see the medical professional before they start doing any kind of adjustment to what they're doing?
Yes, on every supplement, it says consult your physician.
Right.
Even if you start the nitric oxide supplement before consulting your physician, you should work with your physician for better health, with them and not against them.
That's right. Yeah. So it's a team effort.
It's a team effort. It's always a team effort when you're working on a healthy, active lifestyle. So don't cut them out.
Don't cut them out.
Yes.
So I'm going to go back and touch on, as we're getting here close to time, you've given some amazing stuff. You've given me some insights already. We want to touch on the consistency issue here at the very end. You have given us a really holistic perspective. And I think the first thing you said is, and I think I'm relating it back maybe to where you started off in your career, an ounce of prevention is worth everything. Yeah. So the last part of this, we've been giving advice, or not advice, we've been giving recommendations that if something's already occurred, so that, let's see if I can say it right, the endothelioma has already been damaged, and now
it's already damaged.
It's already damaged, and you're taking prescriptions and you're under the care of a professional, and you're wanting to relax vasodilation, causing vasodilation, which will help that better flow. And nitric oxide is key to that. So a healthy diet, more movement, stress management to get that cortisol from being chronic stress all the time. All those things are so valuable. Someone taught me one time, small hinges move big doors. I think it was Jim Rohn that taught me that. And I remember the first time he said it to me, I thought, what the heck does that mean? To get to that better transformational health, to get healthier or get back to a level of wellness, there are small things that are the hinges. And we've talked about those. The preventative part of getting the nitrates through not eating prepackaged products to eating healthy, and making sure you're getting the nitrates through the cruciferous types of salads and beets and spinach, arugula, all those things that naturally are going to boost the nitric oxide in your body, because that's what the nitrates actually convert to nitric oxide through digestion. Cool. We got that. We also know we can move more, and moving more creates nitric oxide in our body just as the machine itself is moving. So the more we sit on the couch, bad, the more we move around. And so we can do this on a regular basis from a taking care of this, like you said, the one body we've been given. We don't get a chance to trade it out and go get another one, so we got to take care of it.
With stories.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is this consistency. Like I mentioned yesterday, I didn't get lunch until 4. I got 3.5 minutes to gobble something down, and it didn't include a salad. There was nothing in there. So what I did do, because I know my schedule gets so busy with things we have to do, like in general, it's just how our world is. It's not like our great grandparents that mine lived out in Nacogdoches, and in that stress level, there was no phones beeping at you at 9 o'clock at night telling you that the boss needs you right now, right?
Yeah.
There was no scrolling in front of bed at night again and again going down Instagram.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when the sun went down, the lights went off or very closely thereafter. And because they were going to be up before dark, again, starting the day, taking care of the animals on the farm and getting the tractor out kind of stuff. But our world isn't like that anymore. So we have to improvise, adapt, overcome. That was the 3 words. My dad being in the Marine, improvise,
overcome. Yep.
Don't get in your excuses. You improvise, you adapt, and you overcome. Okay. So let's apply that here. We can't always have a perfect world that's de-stressed, that we have all the perfect food because we have plenty of time to cook it naturally and to go get that grass-fed beef and the free-range chicken eggs and the, what'd you call it for something, fish?
Wild caught.
Wild caught. There you go. Wild caught. I got to start looking for that. Okay. I just always get salmon. I just get salmon. Now I got to look for wild caught salmon.
Yes.
When we don't have the luxury because of our busy world to have that reduced life and we forget to breathe, we forget to be mindful, then the term supplement is exactly what it's meant to say. Is it's supposed to be a supplement. It's to supplement. So how do you recommend to your corporate wellness clients and your patients that they should be consistent with supplements because of our lifestyle?
Right. I understand. Life can get really crazy and consistency is key. But there may be a day in your week where, like you said, you didn't eat lunch until 4 o'clock. So it's important that even though we can maintain, as much as we can maintain these lifestyle changes every single day, but taking your supplements, particularly the nitric oxide, can be a very helpful way to support the body's processes in maintaining that healthy, active lifestyle. And so the goal is to get us to like where every day we're mindful things that we put in our bodies, mindful of movement.
Sure.
But that those supplements help us to get to peak performance.
I love it. You said it perfectly. That's exactly. You actually, I just say, I guess we're done because you finished our discussion. The title of our podcast is Life Equals Peak Performance. You've given such amazing insights. Thank you just doesn't do the right. I appreciate you sincerely. You've given such good insight. And I hope so many that will watch the podcast and listen to the podcast will get as much out of it as I have. And we had a chance to laugh. And I'm sure that's part of having a healthier, happier life. You should find something every day to have a little sense of humor about, take away the gravity of everything. Yeah.
Laughter doeth good like a medicine. So
there you go.
Laughter is good. I always get to have laughter in your day.
Work. Outstanding. Thank you for coming and giving me some things to laugh about and giving me some good thoughts. And I appreciate you again. And once again, thank you for your service as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you.
Hey, it's Steve Moreland from The Natural Upgrade. I just wanted to extend a personal thank you for hanging out with us here on our podcast. So I wanted to offer you the opportunity to check out the rest of our podcast and just to learn a little more about who we are and what we do. So below this podcast that you're watching right now, this could be a link. Check us out. If you can't find the link, then come to naturespureblend.com and you'll see the podcast link there on the top menu. You can jump over there, look at all our podcasts. We'd love to have you come back again. You can schedule this so that you'll be updated every time we release a new podcast. Then you can watch it on whatever platform that you're comfortable with. Thanks again for hanging out with us. And I hope that this made a difference in your life. We're here to do one thing, and that is to help you unleash your best self and do it naturally. Take care.